Seeming as you're trying to get your reader to imagine the object or scene that you're describing, you should use lots of imagery. And to make sure that's effective and you fully immerse your reader, try and use all of the senses. Start by appealing to the reader's sense of sight so they can imagine what the scene looks like. For example, after years of heavy smoking, the once white walls in her living room were now the colour of a torched creme brulee. Now, as long as your reader knows what creme brulee looks like, they now have a very accurate description of the colour of the walls. Next, appeal to the reader's hearing senses so they can imagine what sounds are going on. For example, George woke to the sound of his Labrador barking, repeatedly and angrily, deep and loud, at the cat on the opposite side of the window. Quick exam tip here while we're looking at sounds. Sometimes onomatopoeia can be very effective. Perhaps a tyre has burst and it can hiss, or blood can gargle, but sometimes students just go a bit too over the top with it, or use it a bit gratuitously. So use it sparingly and only if it adds some extra detail to your description. Just don't use onomatopoeia for the sake of it. Next, what scents and smells are going on? Now, you can actually cause a physical reaction with this one, particularly if you're describing food, because you get the reader's mouth to water. For instance, as I lifted my slice of pizza from the box, that rich, creamy smell of 4 melted cheeses, together with the sweet, sticky smell of buffalo chicken, sent my taste buds gushing. Now, adding that level of detail about the smells in the scene can really help place the reader there. It makes it much more realistic. And if the person in your description is eating, what does that thing taste like? For instance, the roasted hazelnut mixed with the flavour of dark chocolate. It was sweet and bitter with a slight aftertaste of wood, that same taste you get when you bite the top of a pencil. And how about touch? What do the objects in your scene feel like? Is the blanket someone sat on slightly coarse and itchy? Is the ticket they're holding slightly waxy? Is the snowball they're holding so cold that it feels numb to begin with, and then turns slightly wet, and suddenly it feels like hundreds of needles are going into their skin as the cold sets in? We've all felt those sensations, so almost everybody can relate to the feelings. Another example here. I was expecting it to be wet and slimy, but as the snake smoothed in the palm of my hand, it was surprisingly dry and incredibly smooth, like a well-polished wooden banister. You can also immerse your reader by using personification to bring some of these senses to life a little bit more. For example, the wheels screamed, the trees trembled, the dog danced enthusiastically, the fire swallowed the whole building, the mountains bullied and intimidated the valley underneath. Quick exam tip, you can actually make the landscape sound like an extra character in your description. Here's an example by Emily Dickinson to show how effective that can be. When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath. So in summary, to show, don't tell, use all of your senses, use personification, and anthropomorphisize the landscape. So in summary, to show, don't tell, use all of your senses, use personification, and anthropomorphize the landscape.